You are now tuned into the sounds of Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
Love interrupted by tragedy, lost in the drought of nightfall, running in search of the remedy, trying to find her place in it all, focused only on the negative. All she can attract is pain. Perception is what will manifest. Thought she could escape, but it's all the same. Birds fly south for the winter, but she ran to the west side.
You are now tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that's on all the time, anytime. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for all content. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Nathan Snell. Bring your sports game with Big Nate Sports Talk.
Thank you for that lovely introduction, Mr. Anthony Handy. This is episode 12, season 13 of Big Nate Sports Talk podcast. Good evening. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all staying safe. This is a recorded episode. In this episode, we are recapping a wild weekend, the NFL wildcard weekend. We did recap the Ravens and Bengals first. I wanted to get that out the way. Just before we get into the video, there is a couple things I want to say up front. Tomorrow, I will record the Maryland men and women's recaps, previews. The ladies got two big road games, Thursday and Sunday. The men got it the other night. Much needed win. Had we had not won, we wouldn't have made March Madness painfully. We're getting ready for Michigan home game. We got Purdue. We lost to Iowa, unfortunately, Sunday. So that's going to be painful to recap. So that's happening. My plan for tomorrow, as I stated in episode 11, 2:30 Eastern Standard Time, the Baltimore Ravens will be going live with their end of the season post. They're wrapping up of the season. John Harbaugh, Eric DeCosta will be there. I will be streaming that here on the channel. They'll stream it from their live channel, but I will re-air it along with it as it's live. And then we're going to also have a preview for the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. We're getting close. I want to talk about the Washington Wizards. At this point, there's no point. There's nothing really to praise about the Wizards. We lost to the Warriors yesterday, and it's another year of disappointment. And I'm convinced they're not going to make the playoffs. I mean, we'll talk about the first half and of the season so far and what to expect. But other than that, there's really not much to talk about with the Wizards. We're getting ready for spring training with baseball soon. We had the international free agent signing, the Orioles and the Nationals. Other than that, man, we're just really getting geared up with basketball, college basketball, and also we're getting ready for the WNBA free agency. Shout out to Lo from the committee, as she will be with Mike Schindler and Ari Chambers as they preview the free agency. Should be good. I'll be tuned in. I'm really happy for her. Shout out to Lo. She's doing big things. Just remember me when you get to the top. Shout out to Lo. So yeah, man. Let's where do we begin? It was a great wild card weekend. I got all my picks right. And painfully, I got off of it. I like, excuse me. I still cannot believe I picked that team in Dallas to beat Tom Brady, but it was expected. Um, did you not see this coming? We're going to talk about the uh, New York Giants beating the Minnesota Vikings. Surprisingly, this really was my. I picked this one. I was confident. I wasn't sold on Minnesota. I felt as though this was Minnesota taking advantage of a weak NFC North. We know the Packers aren't the same team. We know Detroit was right there to make the playoffs, and we all know the Bears building. But the New York G-men surprised the Raiders 31-24. Where do I begin? First and foremost, I really want to give Daniel Jones his flowers. From the moment he came into the league, coming out of Duke, I had questions, but a lot of people were not sold on him. I remember there was one pundit in the mainstream media, sports media, who was not happy with the pick, and basically was like he had better be a Hall of Famer. We have to understand Daniel Jones was drafted in the Tom Coughlin with coming onto a team that had the fingerprints of Tom Coughlin and just from the previous regime. That team was not built to win. I felt as though what they had around Daniel Jones was awful. Coaching was not better. Still we get Saquon Barkley out of Penn State, and then we're questioning, can he stay healthy? Then you bring in a guy like Brian Dabble. I've said this and I'll stand by this. It's 51% coaching, 49% the player. Coaching matters. When you have a coach that gives you confidence and sees what they can instill in you to be better, like he's turned Daniel Jones into a legitimate game manager. No matter what it may be, whether that's we don't need to throw 300 yards, for 300 yards in this game. Saquon Barkley, we don't need you to carry the load. Now, I still question his playmakers. I think the key for me, and I talked about it in the preview, is his receivers, Isaiah Hodgins, Slayton, and those guys. But I think what he's done this year, he has silenced the critics. I still think there's people that want to find some way to hate on him. But he's getting it done. And you have to give Brian Dabble credit, but you also have to give Daniel Jones credit, because Daniel Jones could have just said, "Man, they're right. I'm terrible. I suck." But I mean, I picked this team to miss the playoffs, and I was wrong on that. They have been playing exceptionally well. I mean, even in the regular season, they have really shut up a lot of critics. And I thought the key also too for this one was their defense. Again, former defensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, Wink Martindale. He is a blitz happy coordinator. He drew up a lot. He likes to draw up different packages every week. And it was interesting when you watch the game compared to the regular season, and I found in the stat during the season they blitzed 40% of the time, compared to against Minnesota, they complete 22.5% on the pass plays. Like, what Martindale did against Minnesota, he tried, and I think he did. I think he exploited that offensive line, because remember, they were dealing with injuries. And then also, too, double up Justin Jefferson. Once you take Justin Jefferson out the game, You're left with Thielen, KJ Osborne, TJ Hawkinson, great players. But we all know that Kirk Cousins is looking for a player on his mind. That's but for me, Minnesota to me I think was running on time. I mean, this season, I was astounded. They won a lot of games with just by one score, but there were a lot of moments that I've seen this year where it should have gone against Minnesota, and it felt like to me that number one, I feel like Minnesota's defense was to me 431 yards total. You had Daniel Jones. Minnesota was unable to generate any type of turnovers. Didn't even get any pressure to the quarterback. Despite you have two, I consider all pro edge rushers. And I don't know if it was coaching. I don't know if it was personnel. I don't know what it was. But, and I'll talk about this in their off season, but there's some things that they're going to have to fix because you cannot wait. If your defense can perform like that going forward, and it's going to be tough because now that we're playing some tougher teams next year. TJ Hawkinson, I think will have a much bigger role next year. And that, to me, he's another number 2 target behind Justin Jefferson. He had 11 catches for 129 yards. They're going to pay him. I think with Irv Smith Jr. and his injuries, I'll be surprised if they keep him or move on from him. But look for TJ Hawkinson to be the guy. And also 2 young guys they had out there, guys that wanted. I mean, he's really mattered. And me personally, I put it on. I have my mock draft here is right here on my little bulletin board. I have them taking safety, corner, offensive line. They need just about everything. But they do have an interesting offseason, and we'll talk about that again in a future video. But this team one to watch, but there's definitely a lot of things that are going to happen because I think there's going to be space. I know they got a salary cap is going to be tight. Some guys may have to go. And some may argue that Kevin O'Connell achieved, but he did really well, I would say. And you have to give him credit. I mean, like if they fix the defense, they're okay. And if they can probably get, I don't know how many more years you can get out of Thielen, but if that offense stays right where it's at, and the Vikings can be a scary team next few years. And this game, it just showed. I think this was a wake-up call for reality, and give them credit. You have to give their receivers credit. Richie James stepped up. Isaiah Hodges all played well. Darius Slayton. I said the key was he's going to have the receivers are going to have to step up in this game. We know Saquon's going to get his numbers. We know, but it's going to come down to Isaiah Hodges, Richie James, and even the tight end Bellinger and Slayton, and they all did that. I know Wandale Robinson got hurt. He had a catch. He got hurt. Um, I mean, I look at the stat. I took my notes. There are 5 drops on 178 targets. That's pretty damn good. Um, we know Darius Slayton is the number 1 wide receiver in that offense. Um, and for me, uh, now I think that their focus is not Philadelphia. Um, I I'm rolling with Philadelphia because the year that Jalen Hurts has had, um, I'm not going to take it away from the Eagles. I think compared to last year, he had a lot of people that were ready to write him off. Once he got Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, that team offensively is starting to look better. Now they've had injuries and they've been figured out, but I think that this division, it's in Philadelphia's hands. This is a different Eagles team than what the Giants saw before. Um, and it's funny that it's the second time, I want to say, for the Giants that they're actually facing a divisional rival in a back-to-back game with a bye week in between. I couldn't believe that. But hey, man, you got to give the Giants credit. It was a good win, and they deserve it. And shout out to Brian Dabble and the crew. They're doing a lot of things, but more importantly, man, game MVP for me was Daniel Jones. So I'm just really glad that he's found his own, and I think that when they pay him, I think the Giants, if they could just solidify the passing, get him like another weapon, the Giants should be okay. But hey, they're right. They're playing on house money, and now they're going to Philadelphia with high momentum. So congratulations, New York G-Men. We're going to take a quick 30-second break. We're going to recap, those Miami Dolphins versus the Buffalo Bills. We'll be right back after with this song. And we're back, and we're going to recap those Buffalo Bills versus the Miami Dolphins. The final score, the Buffalo Bills survived a wild one up in Buffalo, 34-31.
What are you? How?
Listen, let me just say this. I give the Miami Dolphins credit. They had a good year, but I was never really sold on them. They had some tendencies. I still think that's a team I think next year most people are going to fear. Once you get a healthy Tua back, I think that makes a big difference. But it was going to come down to Miami making the big plays. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, they all got going real early. And also, too, I saw some things from Buffalo that kind of made me raise some eyebrows. I mean, give you some context. They were up 11. It was 17-6. And there were some mistakes. And Josh Allen fell back into some old tendencies that he had in his first few years. He threw 300. I mean, He finished the game with 352 yards passing, but he also threw for 2 interceptions and the ball. And I really thought um, that was bad. Um, you had the drop from Khalil Shakir. That was a punt that led to a punt. Then you had the big return, 3 points, and then doing an interception. Um, well, I'm sorry. Let me take that back. The 352. So that drive, it was an interception. Buffalo scored, and also, I mean, there were other mistakes in that game. So that half was really, really disappointing. Um, I thought, for the most part, I thought Miami hung in there. I got to give Skylar Thompson his flowers. Um, I mean, yes, his second start as an NFL quarterback. He was 18 of 45. He threw 1 touchdown and threw 2 interceptions. I thought his as a quarterback, the one thing that I look for in a quarterback is that you are aware of the clock. And I thought at times he was not aware. And I think credit Buffalo's defense. I definitely felt like they pressured him, and his offensive line, with all due respect, wasn't much damn better. Um, I mean, you had the just poor clock management. They had to waste the timeout, for example, on the delay when it was a 4th and 1, and they were on their own 48. They were down by 3. Had to waste a timeout. Um, there were a lot of things that were happening Sunday where Skyler has to be aware of the play clock. And that's where I'm looking at, Torrin Armstead. Your offensive linemen usually are the guys to be, you know what I'm saying? Then there was an interception in the third quarter. And the others around him don't get a pass. Jalen Waddle, if he had caught that deep pass on the second offensive snap, Tyreek Hill and Cedric Wilson, they dropped some passes in the first half. But I credit Buffalo's defense. If it was Tua out there, it's different. But they really got to Skyler. I mean, Tyreek Hill was targeted 15 times. He finished the game with 17 catches on 69 yards. Jalen Waddle was who was also the kick returner because Raheem Morstead was not playing. He had 3 receptions for 44 yards. Their offense was nowhere to be found.
I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
So, I mean, I felt as though this game was in Buffalo's favor. I mean, when you look at it, the first quarter, for example, like Buffalo controlled the clock for damn near 11 minutes. They had almost 200 yards compared to, I think Miami only had 20 yards. And what got me was I felt as though, and that's where I'm looking at Sean McDermott just a little bit, because I felt as though Josh Allen had a brain fart. And let me explain to you that. So he threw the interception because he's had one playoff. He has one up until that Sunday game. He's had thrown one playoff interception. Christian Watkins and Josh Allen got into it, and you saw Josh's offensive line come in there and defend him. Then you got the unnecessary roughness, even though I think Watkins should have gotten fouled for it, but that's okay. And then Josh Allen got strip sacked. And then Zach Sizzler, that's who it was, former Baltimore Raven, go figure, turned it. returned it for a touchdown. So, I mean, other than that, I felt as though Miami's defense kind of got to him. And I can't ignore the 17 points, the 17-point deficit you had that was gone within 7 minutes of the game. I can't ignore that. Jason Sanders was 3 of 3, and then the 7-yard pass to Mike Gesicki, and then a 2-point conversion. And then Xavier Howard picked off Allen. He was the intended target was John Brown, and then he threw an interception to Javon Holland, and then who was the target, Cole Beasley. So I felt as though momentum. I was like, oh, this is going towards Miami, and Miami hung in there. So Buffalo, but Buffalo hung in there. You have to give them. You have to give them that. Also too, game MVPs, it should be Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. We all know that Gabe Davis, come to playoff time, is a cheat code, and he did his thing. He finished with 6 catches and 113 yards and a touchdown. He showed up. Stephon Diggs. Also, 114 yards for 7 catches. Those boys came out to play. And you have to give the Bills credit. They survived. I think that was the key. They played through their mistakes, just like Trevor Lawrence. Josh Allen you saw Josh Allen make the mistakes. When it counted, he made up for those mistakes, and they made the necessary plays to win the game. And I do think, listen, this is the playoffs. It happens. You've got to have the mind of a goldfish. You had 3 interception. Okay, get ready for the next play. You fumbled. You fumbled the ball. Okay, we get on the next possession. But I think this game, there's some things that they're going to tighten up, because I believe they're going to beat Cincinnati, because I'm not sold on Cincinnati. From what I saw them playing Baltimore, that offensive line for Cincinnati is going to be key, because the injuries on the offensive line, but also too, Baltimore's defense did not give up the deep pass to who? Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, nor Tyler Boyd or Hayden Hurst. No other player, none of those receivers had 20 or more yards against Baltimore. And that's going to be the key. Take the deep throw away from Joe Burrow. Make him beat you. Make Joe Burrow beat you by throwing it, whether it's short in the short yards. That's how you make him beat you. If he beats you on the deep throw, it's a wrap. But I see the Buffalo Bills defeating the Bengals. But we'll get into that in the next video. But we are getting ready to recap our next game. We'll take another break. We're going to get ready to painfully recap that team in Dallas. Upsetting Tom Brady on the road.
Broken future. All the plans you made in your heart grew just to die. And now your damaged goods, damaged should have never been. Thought you were bulletproof. Look at you, what happened? Did she hurt you? Are you okay, baby? Everyone gets hurt. That's how we learn to make love work. It's part of life, but if you need
Congratulations to that team in Dallas as they get their first playoff win since 1994. The Dallas Cowboys defeated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 31-14.
How do you do that? How do you do that? What the hell is going on? What the hell was that? What the hell was that? Hey, what the hell? You freaking kidding me?
Well, as I stated in the preview, I thought it was going to come down to the offense. I felt as though Dak had to come out, whether it was Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard, CeeDee Lamb, Dalton Schultz. The offense was key in this game. And they did all that. Tampa Bay's defense, I mean, those guys were just bad. I mean, you were down 18-0 in the first half. I mean, and these weren't small drives. These were plays that you gave up. The only thing I can say negatively about the Dallas Cowboys was Brent Maher, who, according to ESPN, was the #1 fantasy kicker. He missed 4 extra points in an NFL game. He is the only NFL player to have that many misses. I could have made those 4 extra points in that game.
I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
I mean, the defense didn't quit, but you could just see. I mean, there was in the first half, I think it was 246 yards of total offense compared to 120 for Tampa. I mean, there were a lot of missed assignments. I saw blown coverages. There were guys just wide open in the end zone. Some of that's on coaching, but some of that's on the players too. You know, like, this is the playoffs. And also too, you guys ought to understand, this is not the same Tampa team from 2 years ago. These guys are a couple years older. You also got to take into consideration injuries and all those different things like that. I mean, that's no excuse, but this team is different. I mean, Levante Davis, I remember correctly, was really only their true best player. I mean, I think he got the sack on Dak Prescott. That was it. Other than that, offensively, look, as much as I'm a fan of his, I think he's the greatest quarterback of this generation. Offensively, Tampa was really nowhere to be found. You're not going to win too many games. Listen, that offensive line was the key for Tom Brady. They've been dealing with injuries all up and down all season. One thing I noticed about Tom Brady, when you have an offensive line that's not stable, he will struggle. That's whether or not he was in Tampa or that's when he was in New England. And I mean, they couldn't get anything going at all, personally. And for me, that was disappointing. I mean, he threw the ball 66 times. Then he had 35 completions. And I mean, Dan Quinn, was just throwing darts at Brady. I mean, Micah Parsons, just creating a lot of pressure. I mean, he had the touchdown on Julio Jones and Cameron Brate. But other than that, Tampa Bay's offensive line, they had no answers for their pass rush. No answers.
I mean, this is some bad stuff. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how much more of this I can take. I just don't know. This is ridiculous. Oh, Lord.
And obviously the game MVP goes to Dak Prescott, 305 yards for 4 touchdowns, excuse me. I mean, and then he had he had the rushing touchdown. So, 5 touchdowns on the night, excuse me. I mean, I think he joins Peyton Manning, Matt Ryan, and Aaron Rodgers to do that. So, I mean, he showed out. He's heard the critics, and yeah, I can't say anything bad about him. Now, you got to give that Dallas. I have to say this painfully, but I have to give Dallas some credit. This team knows how to fight. But my concern is you were up 24-0 against a team that's, I wouldn't say wasn't ready for this game, but Dallas was the better team. Now, what does the team look like San Francisco next week? How do you contain Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Elijah Mitchell, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle? How do you contain – how do you game plan for Brock Purdy? You know what I'm saying? So that's going to be interesting to watch. Really quick, I got to go back to Brett Maher. Look, I think he just had a bad game. It happens. And I think he'll get better from it. It's you gotta give your guy confidence. You see them giving him confidence, and I think he'll bounce back from the game. I predict in the game he will make 3 clutch field goals against San Francisco.
Guaranteed.
I think Brett will recover from this game, but Brett, that was bad. 4 field goals. I think the last time that was done, it was like what I saw that stat on Twitter. It was like 1932.
I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
So that was the wild card weekend, man. I'm excited for the divisional round of the playoffs. I can't wait. I got all my picks right so far, except the Baltimore one. So we're on to the divisional round. And with that being said, we're going to move into our last message of the night. You guessed it.
Incoming message.
Thoughts are running through my mind. Someone took some time to find a minute or two to organize them.
You know, the one thing I've noticed about this playoff run is this was a different playoff run. You didn't have your Tom Brady's or your Aaron Rodgers or your Russell Wilsons of the world. You had the Tyler Huntleys, the Geno Smiths, Daniel Jones of the world. And it lets me know that regardless of talent as a quarterback, everybody brings something to the table. And no matter how their seasons ended or how it's continuing, you got to give those guys credit. Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, all played well. Tyler Huntley had a good game other than that miscue. Daniel Jones, Geno Smith, got to give those guys credit. And it just lets me know that I hope that they all take something from this season to be better. And I mean, with me saying that is, I'm glad we were able to see different faces of quarterback, a different feel. Like I didn't see Aaron Rodgers. I didn't see I did see Tom Brady, but I didn't see, like I wanted somebody else different. Someone like Russell Wilson, leading Seattle. This time it was Geno Smith, Lamar, Tyler Huntley, Daniel Jones, like those guys, like, that's that they gotta have something going here for their teams next year. So I'm just proud of what they've done this year. I think Geno Smith is going to be good for a few years. Also, too, I mean, if he didn't make the playoffs, Jacoby Brissett, Skylar Thompson. Look, he's a rookie. These are growing pains. I'm sure he'll learn from this. I'm sure he'll be better. But also, too, staying healthy as a team matters. If you look, Minnesota, offensive line, injuries. Not having Lamar Jackson, Baltimore, injuries. Tua, injuries. Tampa, having healthy offensive line. Those things matter. Being the healthiest team come playoff time matters. Who stays the healthiest is going to win the championship. That's facts. I mean, even though play matters, but staying healthy, the playoff run matters. So that's going to end the episode. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. Be tuned in for future episodes. We will be back tomorrow with the lady and men turbans. Recap and previews. Painfully, the men play Michigan again, and we play Nebraska. So that should be an interesting episode. Previews episodes will be recorded. As I said, we are recording episodes up until after the Super Bowl. So until then, you guys have a great night. Have a great Wednesday. Continue having a great week. And I will catch you guys on the flip side. Y'all have a good night. Peace. Stay out.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode and you want to see more content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Bring your sports game on Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
Thank you. And you help me retain my sanity. Thank you. I want to thank you. And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you.